The hum of chatter filled the grand hotel lobby, crystal chandeliers casting warm light across marble floors. In the corner, an 11-year-old girl flipped through a notebook, lips moving in quiet whispers, each phrase in a different language. Her father, Daniel, stood nearby with 2 cups of tea, watching with the kind of pride that comes from witnessing magic. Across the room, a well-dressed CEO paced in frustration, phone pressed to his ear. Sophie's bright eyes flicked to him, then to her father. "Dad, I think I can help him. If you believe extraordinary gifts can appear in the most unexpected moments, keep watching." Daniel Matthews, 39, and weathered by life's storms, had built his small travel agency from nothing after his wife's passing. Sophie was his anchor, his entire world wrapped up in one remarkable girl who collected languages like other children collected stickers. Sophie possessed something extraordinary, fluency in 7 languages, absorbed through library books, conversations with elderly neighbors, and pen pals across continents. What started as curiosity had become something that left university professors speechless. They sat in the hotel lobby's velvet chairs, waiting for Daniel's college friend. Sophie's notebook lay open, filled with vocabulary in Mandarin, French, Spanish, Italian, German, Russian, and Arabic. Her fingers traced each character with reverence. "The Mandarin character for hope looks like a house with arms reaching to the sky," she whispered, absorbed in her linguistic world. Daniel smiled, remembering how his wife Sarah said Sophie inherited her grandmother's gift for languages, though even she had only spoken 4 fluently. Across the lobby, a man in an expensive suit paced like a caged tiger. His phone conversation grew heated, frustration radiating from every gesture. Words like canceled, impossible, and 50 million drifted across the space. Sophie's ears perked up. She was drawn to puzzles, and this man's distress felt like one begging to be solved. "The interpreter just canceled. 20 minutes before the most important meeting of my career," the CEO barked into his phone. "These investors flew in from Beijing and Paris for this deal. They don't speak English, and now I'm completely—" He trailed off, running his hand through hair that showed signs of panic. Sophie tugged at her father's sleeve. "Dad, I can translate." Daniel's teacup paused halfway to his lips. He studied his daughter's face, those determined green eyes that reminded him of her mother's confidence, the forward lean that meant she was already solving the problem. "Sophie, sweetheart, this is a billion-dollar company. Are you sure?" "I'm sure, Dad. He needs help, and I can give it." Daniel felt pride mixed with protective concern. But something in Sophie's expression, that unwavering certainty, made his decision. Taking a breath, he approached the executive. "Excuse me, sir. I couldn't help but overhear your situation." The CEO looked up, eyes sharp with stress. "And you are?" "Daniel Matthews. This is my daughter, Sophie. She's 11, but she's fluent in 7 languages, including Mandarin and French." The man's eyebrow arched skeptically. "She's 11. Sophie stepped forward with calm confidence that seemed impossible in someone so young. "Ask me anything, in any of these 7 languages." For 5 minutes, Sophie switched seamlessly between tongues, reciting poetry in French, explaining business concepts in Mandarin, cracking a joke in Italian that made Daniel laugh despite his nervousness. The CEO stood frozen, phone forgotten, watching this miracle unfold. Desperation won over skepticism. "All right," he said finally, "let's see if you can save a $50 million deal." 20 minutes later, Sophie sat at a polished mahogany conference table in the hotel's private meeting room. 3 investors from Beijing and 2 from Paris arranged papers with military precision. The CEO, Marcus Chen, sat beside Sophie, still processing the surreal turn his day had taken. "Gentlemen," Marcus began, then paused, looking at Sophie with hope and bewilderment. Sophie straightened in her oversized chair and smiled at the investors. When she spoke in flawless Mandarin, her voice carried a musical quality that softened the room's tension. "Mr. Chen welcomes you all and expresses his deep gratitude for your time and consideration." The lead investor from Beijing, a distinguished man with silver temples, blinked in surprise. His rapid Mandarin response flowed through Sophie's translation like water. "Mr. Liu says he's impressed by your foresight in ensuring clear communication." As the meeting progressed, something magical happened. Sophie didn't just translate words, she carried emotion, cultural nuances, unspoken meanings that could make or break negotiations. When French investors expressed timeline concerns, she conveyed their underlying respect for thoroughness. Helping Marcus understand their questions came from diligence, not doubt. Marcus's guarded posture softened as he watched this child navigate complex concepts with diplomatic grace. She caught subtleties he would have missed, bridged cultural gaps he didn't know existed. During a recess, Marcus turned to Sophie with curiosity. "How did you learn all this? Most adults struggle with one foreign language." Sophie's face lit up. "Each language feels like meeting a new friend, Mr. Chen. French taught me how they paint pictures with words. Mandarin showed me that some thoughts need different shapes to exist. Arabic revealed how writing can look like art." Daniel joined the conversation. "Sophie's curiosity became our lifeline after my wife passed. While I was drowning in grief, she dove into linguistic worlds, connecting with people across continents. Her Shanghai pen pal taught her calligraphy. Our Italian neighbor spent hours perfecting her pronunciation." Marcus listened intently, something shifting in his expression. "I grew up speaking Mandarin at home, but lost most of it trying to fit in at American schools. Watching Sophie today reminds me of what I gave up." "It's never too late to remember," Sophie said gently. "Languages wait patiently for us to return." When investors returned, the atmosphere had transformed. Sophie's presence had humanized what could have been a cold transaction. As she facilitated negotiations, her warmth infected the entire room. The breakthrough came when a younger Chinese investor made a subtle joke about American coffee culture. Sophie not only translated the humor perfectly, but added context for the French investors. The room erupted in genuine laughter, the first real joy Marcus had experienced in weeks of preparation. "She's not just translating," Marcus whispered to Daniel. "She's building bridges." Madame Dubois, the French lead investor, spoke directly to Sophie in rapid French. Sophie's response was animated, her hands gesturing as she switched languages to include everyone in their conversation about French literature. "What are you discussing?" Marcus asked, smiling. "Madame Dubois was asking about my education. She's recommending advanced literature." Sophie paused, then added with wisdom beyond her years. "She says that in business, as in books, the most important stories are where everyone wins." As they prepared to continue negotiations, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced in months: genuine optimism. If you think small acts of brilliance can change the course of big events, stay with us. The conference room glowed golden as afternoon sunlight streamed through windows, illuminating documents spread like puzzle pieces. For 3 hours, Sophie had woven conversations between cultures, and the $50 million partnership seemed within reach. Marcus felt his shoulders relaxing for the first time in weeks. Investors were nodding, making notes, exchanging approving glances. Their body language had shifted from cautious evaluation to engaged collaboration. Then, like a storm cloud, an unexpected complication darkened the horizon. Mr. Liu frowned deeply at a contract clause. His sharp Mandarin carried obvious concern. Sophie translated carefully. "Mr. Liu says there's a fundamental misunderstanding about intellectual property ownership in Asian markets. The current terms suggest complete American control over innovations developed in Chinese facilities." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "But that's not what we intended at all. We want collaborative ownership, shared benefits." Before Sophie could translate, Madame Dubois interjected in rapid French, her composure showing cracks. "Madame Dubois expresses similar concerns about European applications," Sophie translated. "She says if this is truly the American position, perhaps this partnership isn't as mutually beneficial as presented." The room's temperature plummeted. Marcus watched 3 years of preparation slip away like sand. His legal team had drafted the contract, but something had been lost or never properly communicated. "This is a misunderstanding," Marcus said desperately, but Sophie caught something in the investor's expressions he missed. "Mr. Chen," she said quietly, leaning closer, "it's not just the contract language. There's a deeper issue." "What do you mean?" Sophie's young face showed remarkable composure. "In Chinese business culture, this clause suggests distrust, like you're protecting your interests at their expense. In French business philosophy, it implies you see them as junior partners rather than equals." Marcus felt sweat beading on his forehead. How do I fix this? Acknowledge their concerns first, then explain your actual intentions. But the words must show respect for their business wisdom, not just your desire to make a deal. Taking a deep breath, Marcus looked directly at Mr. Liu, pausing after each sentence for Sophie's translation. Mr. Liu, I deeply apologize for the confusion. Your concerns show exactly the kind of thoughtful insight we hope to benefit from in this partnership. Sophie's Mandarin carried not just his words, but his genuine remorse and respect. Mr. Liu's expression began to soften. Marcus continued, addressing both teams. Our intention was never to control or diminish your contributions. We want to create something together that none of us could build alone, with shared ownership, shared risks, and shared success. As Sophie translated these words into both languages, she added subtle touches Marcus couldn't have known to include, phrases acknowledging the investor's expertise, their cultural contributions, their equal standing. The room's atmosphere began shifting again, but just as tensions eased, Mr. Liu made an unexpected request. Mr. Liu says that to properly evaluate this partnership, they need to experience American business culture more directly. Sophie translated, then paused with a slight frown. He's requesting a dinner meeting this evening, a more informal setting where they can better assess the personal integrity behind the business proposal. Marcus nodded eagerly. Of course, absolutely. We can arrange. Mr. Chen, Sophie interrupted gently. There's more. They specifically want me present at dinner. Mr. Liu says my translation has shown them more truth about your character than hours of formal presentation, and Madame Dubois agrees that my cultural bridging has been essential to their understanding. Daniel, observing quietly from the corner, felt his parental instincts activate. This had gone far beyond their simple afternoon plan. A formal business dinner was an entirely different commitment and responsibility. I appreciate the honor, Daniel said carefully, but this is quite beyond what we had planned. Sophie turned to her father with those bright, determined eyes that reminded him so powerfully of her mother. Dad, we can do this. They need us, and I want to see this through. Marcus looked between father and daughter, understanding the weight of his request. I would be deeply grateful, but I completely understand if... We'll do it, Daniel said, recognizing that look in his daughter's eyes. Some opportunities were too important to let slip away for everyone involved. As they scheduled the evening dinner, Sophie squeezed her father's hand, already mentally preparing for the next phase of this unexpected adventure. The private dining room at Le Bernardin hummed with warm conversation as candlelight danced across faces from 3 continents. What had begun as a desperate business meeting had transformed into something precious, a gathering of people discovering their shared humanity across cultural divides. Sophie sat between Marcus and Madame Dubois, hands gesturing animatedly as she translated Mr. Liu's story about his grandmother's business philosophy. Her laughter was infectious, drawing smiles even from the most reserved investors. My grandmother used to say that the best business deals are like the best recipes, Sophie translated, carrying Mr. Liu's warmth perfectly. You can't just throw ingredients together and hope for success. Each element must complement the others, and the cooking process requires patience, attention, and respect for what each ingredient contributes. The French investors nodded appreciatively, and Madame Dubois responded with her own family wisdom about partnerships being like fine wine, requiring time, care, and the perfect blend of elements to create something extraordinary. As the evening progressed, conversation flowed far beyond business. Marcus shared stories about his cultural journey, childhood struggles with identity, and dreams of building a company that truly bridged global divides. The investors responded with their own tales, creating a tapestry of human experience that Sophie wove together with her translations. You know what's remarkable, said Dr. Zhang, the younger Chinese investor, speaking directly to Sophie in accented English. You don't just translate our words, you translate our hearts. Sophie blushed but responded with wisdom beyond her years. I think that's what languages are really for, helping hearts understand each other. By the time dessert arrived, an elaborate chocolate creation that prompted discussion about dessert traditions across cultures, the $50 million deal had evolved into something more valuable, a genuine partnership built on mutual respect and understanding. Marcus excused himself briefly to take a call from his legal team, returning with revised documents. The new term, he announced, truly reflect equal partnership and shared vision. Mr. Liu examined the papers carefully, his expression gradually brightening. A quick consultation with his colleague in Mandarin, expertly translated by Sophie, confirmed their satisfaction. Madame Dubois' review was equally positive. To partnerships that honor all cultures, Marcus raised his wine glass as Sophie translated the toast into Mandarin and French. The signatures that followed felt ceremonial rather than merely legal, the culmination of a day that had changed everyone involved. As the dinner wound down, Marcus pulled Daniel aside while Sophie was engaged in animated conversation with Dr. Jiang about her favorite Chinese poets. Daniel, your daughter didn't just help close this deal, she made it possible in a way no professional interpreter could have, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. She didn't just translate words, she built bridges between worlds. He paused, then continued with growing excitement. I want to offer Sophie something. Not now, obviously. She's 11 and should be enjoying her childhood. But when she's ready for college internships, when she's thinking about her future, our company will have a place for her. A real position where she can use these incredible gifts to help other people connect across cultures. Daniel felt his chest swell with pride so intense it was almost painful. She'd be thrilled to know that. But honestly, Marcus, I think Sophie would probably build her own bridges long before then. You're probably right, Marcus laughed. Just promise me you'll keep in touch. I have a feeling this won't be the last time Sophie changes someone's entire world. Later that evening, as father and daughter walked slowly through the city streets, Sophie reached up to take Daniel's hand, a gesture she was starting to outgrow, but that he treasured all the more for its rarity. Mom would have been proud, right? Sophie asked, her voice small in the vast night air. Daniel stopped walking, knelt down to meet her eyes, and felt tears threatening. Sophie, your mom would be over the moon. She'd probably say you got your gift for bringing people together straight from her heart. Sophie smiled, squeezing his hand tighter. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. More than all the languages in the world could ever express. As they continued their walk home, both father and daughter knew this day would be remembered forever, not just for the business deal or the money involved, but for the moment when a little girl's extraordinary gift reminded everyone in that room what human connection really means. If this story warmed your heart, subscribe to Our Heart Stories for more moments where love, talent, and courage shine.